Charlotte Leslie.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. I have to say, when Parliament was recalled, a couple of my constituents, having watched awful scenes on television, said to me, "Oh, great, so the cities are burning and the politicians are going to talk. That's really going to fix things." But I have to say, I've been really pleased that this hasn't been a talking shop today and that some really tangible provisions have come out of this. Because in many ways, the communities around our country have been feeling that politics has been sleep-talking into this situation. Although no one could have predicted the manner in which these riots arose, communities up and down the country have seen something that the Right Honourable Member for North Hackney and Stoke Newington pointed out, that once kids see that they can do something and get away with it, the problem suddenly becomes an awful lot worse. And throughout communities, and certainly in my constituency, people have been terrorised in their own homes, people have been prisoners in their own neighbourhoods, because kids have been allowed to get away with initially quite low-level stuff, then a bit more, then a bit more. So many communities, the helplessness, the frustration, the despair they felt that there have been no consequences to these actions, suddenly their emotions in a small scale were writ large over the entire nation. And what the people of Britain, I think, know is that you can't have a situation where actions have no consequences. And I think that is one of the major lessons that we have to learn. And it's like a broken window policy. You have to start low level to avoid the high level ever reaching those stages. Now, actions have consequences. As the chair of the all-party group on boxing, I can't talk about this without mentioning the amazing role that we've seen boxing clubs play, and it's been on the media, but Moss Side Boxing Club and the Boxing Academy, in reaching out to those young people who are very, very prone to activities like rioting. They have energy and they have aggression. And what boxing clubs show is that actions do have consequences. There's discipline, and if you train and you do well, you actually get better at something, and you can take control of your life and actually do something with your life. So that is testament to the concept that actions have consequences can work in a positive way as well. But how have we got to this stage? How have we got to the "you can't touch me" approach that you see in schools when teachers try to discipline kids in schools, and you see on the streets when policemen try to move on or discipline kids in the street? I have to say, it has to be down to an abuse of the very valid concept of human welfare and human rights. Over the past years, we've seen an abuse of that concept, so that the rights of criminals come above the rights of victims, such as my constituent Helen Stockford, who is a victim who has suffered terribly. The state hasn't been there for her. It has been there to safeguard the rights of her attacker. And how has this been allowed to come about? I think well-meaning human rights legislation has been taken out of context, perhaps by people who don't live in the daily reality of the consequences of a distorted human rights concept. And the worst thing about a human rights concept that takes away action and consequence, that takes away boundaries and discipline, is that it's not only our country that suffers. It's not only our cities that burn when kids realise they can loot stores and get away with it again. It's actually those children themselves. Because, as everyone knows, without boundaries, you can't know achievement. And by taking away discipline, we're taking away from those children the basic rules by which you can discipline yourself and you can achieve. And that is simply wrong. And this is a lesson I think we must all take away from this wake-up call of a week.